This is At Home with Kyle Kirkwood. I think fortunately for me, I grew up in an area that was very, very karting dominant. Being in Florida, you might not think it's a big racing community, just because, I mean, what happens here? We have the Daytona 500, and we got St. Pete here. We got Sebring 12-hour, but there isn't really anything of much like. It's not like Indianapolis, right? Where you think of Indianapolis, you think of IndyCar. When you think of Florida, you think of the beaches, you think of the weather, you think of the ocean, you think of Miami, you know? I grew up surfing, diving, fishing since a really young age. And those are the things I get to do kind of in our off season. I grew up around some really, really good drivers. Like, I could go down the list of, like, I race here in Florida, I race against Oliver Askew, Logan Sargent, Dalton Sargent, Pietro Fittipaldi, R.C. Anderson was racing, Danny Formal, you name it, Lance Stroll. There was a ton of drivers that I raced against here in Florida in karting, and I was kind of raised with these group of drivers that have all now made it to the top themselves. So it's I got fortunate in that part of the situation, and it's cool to add my name to the list of history, but also the list of drivers that I grew up with, and it's cool to see kind of where we've all made it now. Yeah, 2020 was a weird year. It was a weird year for everyone, though. It wasn't just myself, so I can't really complain. But it was actually here in 2020 in March where we showed up to the track, did our first practice session, all geared up for the season, looking like we're having an awesome championship and awesome season. And get through the first practice, and the next thing you know, we're shut down. Season's at a halt right now. We don't know what's next. We don't know where we're racing next. Just absolutely kind of no future in sight, which was a really strange thing. You know, and obviously IndyCar raced that year, but Indy Next, which at the time was Indy Lights, we didn't compete that entire year. So for me, I had to improvise. I had to figure out a way to drive something somewhere. For me, that was IMSA, and it took a while to kind of come up with that ride. It wasn't like it just came quickly. It was later on in the year that because I was so geared up for Indy Lights and Indy Next, the only focus I had was that, so it's kind of hard to pivot my focus to try and just drive something where I knew I had a ride, I knew I had a championship, a really good chance of winning a championship with an awesome team like Andretti, and that all went away, all in a split second. So obviously after that, I was able to get an IMSA ride with Lexus and Vassar Sullivan. Fortunately, I still get to drive for them today, so it's actually kind of a blessing in disguise, because if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be racing in IMSA. I wouldn't have done the 24 hours 4 times. I wouldn't have won a championship with them in their car last year. So yeah, it's worked out in a sense, you know. Fortunately, I guess that's how things goes. Even though something might look like a negative at some point, it's kind of turned into a positive, and it's enjoyable to continue doing that. And fortunately, the next year, Andretti had me back in their car. We were able to race the next year and go and win the championship with 10 out of 20 races under our belt. My career is kind of a little bit different from maybe most drivers' careers. A lot of people's trickles down from family, where a lot of family is involved, and that's kind of where they get their start, and they already kind of know the process. And then there's me, where I don't have any family background in motorsports whatsoever. It was just kind of a fluke thing where I enjoyed racing, turned into something a lot bigger. I put the work and effort into it because I liked the sport, and it turned into something massive. And throughout my career, I was always in a position that I had to win to be able to move on. And if I didn't win a championship, that would just stop me in my footsteps, and I might not have anything the next year. And honestly, looking back on it, it's more pressure being in those situations than what I have now, because now I feel like I'm in a comfortable spot where even if something doesn't work out, and there's going to be something down the line, because I have a lot of experience in it. Whereas when I was younger, I didn't have enough experience to create value for some teams, so you're always coming up with sponsorships, and I really didn't have any sponsors, so I was fully reliant on these scholarships that the Road to Indy had in place, Honda had in place through F3 and F4, and even karting scholarships before that. When AJ Allmendinger picked me up, when Skip Barber had a scholarship, whoever won Florida Winter Tour, my entire career was based on that. And with those, the only reason why I got those is because I won. So I was always put in a position that if I didn't win, I probably didn't have anything lined up for me the next year. So it was a stressful time throughout my young career coming up through the ranks in the IndyCar. Yeah, you know, Andretti really is it is a family atmosphere. They make you feel very, very comfortable within the series. They have a lot of confidence in their drivers. They set expectations and they expect you to meet those expectations, but at the same time, they're all racers themselves. They understand that some things go wrong, some things go really well, and they help you all the way through. Whereas a lot of people in this industry, they're not actually drivers themselves, and they can only see things from their point of view rather than a driver's point of view, which sometimes is a tough situation. It's been awesome coming in with them because it's made me feel like I've been a part of this world of racing since forever, and so has my family. We're in a really good spot, I think, where we're at. The people that I have around me are incredible. It's what makes me love this sport even more. You know, there's people that they see good in people and they want to help them out and they want to see them succeed, and they kind of bring them into your family, or bring you into their family, and that's exactly what Andretti's done for me. Yeah, I mean, the future for me is hopefully IndyCar champion this year, fingers crossed. Also, an Indy 500 would be huge. You know, last year was heartbreaking for me. I thought we had a win in the bag. We were so fast at the end of the race, and 17 laps to go. Next thing you know, we're on our lid sliding down the racetrack, and all I thought when I got out of the car is like, can we flip this thing back over and go again? You know, it's like I've never had that good of a shot of winning a race in my life, and that is by far, the Indy 500 is my bucket list item right now after what happened last year. Of course, I wanted to win a championship, but that one was a heartbreaker for me, and I feel like I need to redeem myself from that. So IndyCar is obviously my passion. It's where I plan on staying for the future to come. It's enjoyable to be home. It's enjoyable to be able to stay in Florida. Like I mentioned, I live 160 miles that way, and be able to fly quickly to pretty much any race. So that's what makes me love this championship, and we're going to keep going after it.